13 songs from 1973. You know the riffs. You've heard them in stadiums, in your headphones, blasting from car windows on summer nights. But here's what the radio never told you. These tracks didn't just become classics. They forced every rock band that came after to throw out the playbook and start over. 7 four-time signatures hitting the top 20, 9-minute epics becoming stadium closers, power ballads that critics hated but audiences never forgot. "1973 was the year rock stopped asking permission. And once you hear what really happened behind these songs, you'll never listen to them the same way again." Number 13, Led Zeppelin, Over the Hills and Far Away. Houses of the Holy Drops in March 1973, and tucked into side one is a song that does something most bands wouldn't dare. 6-string acoustic intro, then 12-string layered on top. Then the entire band kicks in like a door getting blown off its hinges. Over the Hills and Far Away peaks at number 51 on the charts, which tells you exactly nothing about its impact. Here's what matters. Jimmy Page wrote this in 1970 at a cottage in Wales with no electricity, no running water, just acoustic guitars and open sky. By the time it hits vinyl 3 years later, it's become the template for every acoustic to electric transition that follows. That shift from intimate to explosive becomes required listening for anyone trying to build dynamics into a rock song. But here's where it gets complicated. Page plays the acoustic intro, repeats it with a 12-string, then switches to electric without losing the thread. Most guitarists at the time were picking a lane. Page said you don't have to. The rhythm section on this track is exceptional. John Paul Jones called it himself. There are very tight, very exciting moments where bass and drums lock in so precisely that the song breathes without ever losing momentum. And if you were in an audience in 72 or 73, you heard this song a full year before it showed up on an album. Zeppelin was road testing it live, letting it evolve in front of crowds before committing it to tape. That's not standard practice, that's confidence. The song peaks at number 51 and Rolling Stone later ranks at number 16 in their greatest Zeppelin tracks. That gap between chart position and legacy, that's the difference between what sold and what stuck. Number 12, Queen, Keep Yourself Alive. July 6th, 1973. Queen releases their first single. It fails to chart in the UK, fails to chart in the US 5 separate times. EMI's pluggers try to get it onto Radio 1's playlist. 5 times, rejected. The reason? The song takes too long to happen. But here's what Brian May was building: an entire album's worth of riffs crammed into a single track. He wrote Keep Yourself Alive on acoustic guitar at Imperial College practice sessions in 1970, back when the band didn't even have a permanent bassist yet. By the time it hits vinyl, it's been reworked, remixed, and agonized over so many times the band loses count. May hated the final version. He thought the 1971 demo, the one they cut at Delane Lee Studios before they even had a deal, had a magic they could never recapture. And that's the thing about this song. It's not polished. It's a phalanx of overdubbed guitars crying out in unison with rhythm and texture from over-the-top effects. Rolling Stone calls it a truly awesome move for the jugular. The British music press is split. Some praise the cleanly recorded track and the good singer. Others shrug it off as unoriginal. Here's what no one knew in 1973. This song was writing the instruction manual for arena rock. Those guitar harmonies May stacked, that became the Queen signature. That raw, rampaging energy, that's what separated them from the prog bands trying to be clever. In 2008, Rolling Stone ranks it number 31 on their list of the 100 greatest guitar songs of all time. It didn't chart, but every band that came after heard it. And if you've ever wondered when Queen became Queen, not just a band but a force, it started here with a single that radio wouldn't touch.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 11, ZZ Top, Grange. Tres Hombres, July 26, 1973. ZZ Top's third album and the one that finally makes people outside Texas pay attention. Grange is the centerpiece. It peaks at number 41 on the charts in June 74. But here's what those numbers don't tell you. This song becomes the most requested track in the band's catalog for the next 5 decades. The groove comes from John Lee Hooker's Boogie Chillin', that traditional boogie blues rhythm that's been rattling around since the late 40s. Billy Gibbons takes it, strips it down to its skeleton, and builds something that sounds like Texas dirt and Gulf Coast heat. 3-piece band, no overdubs, just Gibbons on guitar, Dusty Hill on bass, Frank Beard on drums, locking into a groove so tight it doesn't need anything else. And the subject matter? The Chicken Ranch, a real brothel outside Grange, Texas, that operated from 1905 to 1973, the same year the song drops. Gibbons doesn't moralize. He doesn't sensationalize. He just tells the story with a wink and a riff that sticks in your skull. Here's the part that rewrites the playbook. ZZ Top proves you don't need complexity to be influential. While prog bands are layering keyboards and orchestras and concept albums, these 3 guys from Houston are making the case that less is more. One riff, one groove, 3.5 minutes. In 2005, Q Magazine ranks it number 92 of the 100 greatest guitar tracks. Rolling Stone puts it at number 74 on their greatest guitar songs list. But the real influence? Every garage band, every blues rock trio, every group that ever wanted to sound huge without adding members, they all came back to this. Grange didn't just hit the charts. It became the blueprint for how much power 3 people can generate when they're locked in. Number 10, The Who, 515. October 1973, Quadrophenia drops as The Who's second rock opera, and 515 is the lead single in the UK. It hits number 20 on the charts, but strip away the concept album framing and you've got something stranger happening. Call and response vocals between Daltrey and Townshend, brash horns, rollicking piano from a Joe Cocker sideman, and lyrics about a pill-loving protagonist on a train drowning in teenage confusion and polymorphous sexuality. Unlike most of Quadrophenia, which required painstaking work and months of labor, 515 came to Townshend quickly. He wrote it in the studio the same day they recorded it, killing time between appointments. That spontaneity shows. The song doesn't meander through prog complexity, it punches. But here's what makes it influential. Townshend was building narrative into a 3-minute single without sacrificing energy. Most bands at the time treated storytelling and radio hits as separate categories. You either made a concept album nobody could follow, or you made simple singles with no depth. 515 said you could do both. Sharp hooks, dense character work, real stakes in the lyrics, all at once. And the production, Moon's drums, have that controlled chaos that only he could deliver. Entwistle's bass and horn parts add texture without cluttering. When punk bands came along 3 years later and said rock had gotten too bloated, they conveniently forgot songs like this existed. Direct, immediate, complex without being inaccessible. The Who performed Quadrophenia Live on Tour in 73 and 74, then dropped most of it for decades. But 515 stayed in rotation when they needed to prove they could still hit hard. Rolling Stone later called it one of their best tracks. You know why? Because it did what great rock songs are supposed to do. It made you feel something urgent while the band sounded like they were barely holding it together. And somehow, that controlled chaos became the point. Number 9, Alice Cooper, No More Mr. Nice Guy. February 27, 1973, Billion Dollar Babies hits number 1 in the US and UK, and No More Mr. Nice Guy becomes one of its signature tracks, peaking at number 25 on the charts. But the song isn't about shock value, it's about something sharper. What happens when you lean into the villain role everyone's already cast you in? By 73, Alice Cooper had become the target. Parents, groups, critics, moral crusaders, everyone was convinced the band was corrupting youth with guillotines and fake blood and theatrical horror. Michael Bruce wrote the riff. Alice Cooper wrote the lyrics. And instead of defending themselves or apologizing, they flipped it. The song's narrator accepts the accusation. I used to be such a sweet, sweet thing till they got a hold of me. No more trying to be respectable. You want a villain? Here's your villain. The genius is in the delivery. It's not angry, it's sarcastic, almost playful. Cooper sings it with a sneer that makes the whole thing feel like he's winking at you. Guitarist Michael Bruce delivers a punchy central riff that's simple but instantly recognizable. The rhythm section keeps it driving forward. It's rebellion, but with humor. Here's what the song taught every band that came after. You don't have to fight public perception. You can weaponize it. 3 years before punk, Alice Cooper was already showing how to turn controversy into credibility. When the Sex Pistols showed up calling themselves threats to society, they were just walking a path Alice had already paved. And 50 years later, the song still works because the core idea is universal. Being misunderstood, being judged unfairly, deciding that if they're going to see you as the bad guy anyway, you might as well own it. That's not just a lyric, that's a survival strategy. And it became part of rock's DNA. Number 8, Grand Funk Railroad, We're an American Band. July 2nd, 1973. Grand Funk Railroad releases We're an American Band, and it becomes their first #1 single. But here's the part that matters. This wasn't supposed to work. Grand Funk had spent years getting torn apart by critics while selling out stadiums. They were the band serious rock fans were supposed to hate. Too populist, too loud, too American. Then they brought in Todd Rundgren to produce, and drummer Don Brewer wrote a song that stitched together snapshots from the band's touring life. Booze and ladies, sweet, sweet Connie doing her act, poker games and groupies, and the whole gonzo circus of life on the road. Brewer sang it himself, which was unusual. Mark Farner had been the voice of Grand Funk up to that point, but Brewer's delivery had this swagger that fit the song perfectly. And the production. Rundgren gave them a cleaner, more professional sound than anything they'd done before. The cowbell intro became iconic instantly. You hear those first few hits and you know exactly what song it is. That's the mark of a well-constructed single. But here's what We're an American Band did to the playbook. It made arena rock self-aware without being cynical. The song celebrates the excess and the ridiculousness of being a huge rock band, but it doesn't apologize for it. It says, yeah, this is what we do. We fly into your town and help you party it down. And instead of pretending there's some deeper artistic mission, it just owns the spectacle. Critics have been saying Grand Funk was all spectacle and no substance for years. We're an American Band said, exactly, and that's the point. When you stop trying to be something you're not and just do what you do better than anyone else, that's when you win. The song hit #1 and the album hit #2. Finally, after years of selling millions of records while getting savaged in reviews, Grand Funk got their vindication. Not by changing, by doubling down. #7, Allman Brothers, Ramblin' Man. August 1973, Brothers and Sisters drops, and Ramblin' Man becomes the Allman Brothers' first and only top 10 hit, peaking at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. But this song almost didn't happen. The band thought it was too country, too simple, not Allman Brothers enough. Dickie Betts wrote it at 4 a.m. in Barry Oakley's kitchen at the Big House in Macon. The inspiration came from Hank Williams' 1951 song of the same name, but also from Betts' own childhood. His dad worked construction and moved the family back and forth between Florida's coasts. Betts grew up in the back of Greyhound buses. Rambling was in his blood. When he brought the song to the band, they were reluctant. Drummer Butch Trucks said it straight, this sounds too country for us. But new keyboardist Chuck Leavell loved it. And when they got into the studio in October 72, it was the first song they recorded. It would also be bassist Barry Oakley's last recording before he died in a motorcycle crash a month later. Here's what made Ramblin' Man influential. Betts took the country flavor and Allmanized it. He thought of Eric Clapton's Layla, that long jam at the end, and figured something similar might work. So they recorded the song with an extended guitar section that let the 3-guitar lineup breathe. Country structure, rock blues feeling. That fusion became the Southern rock template. The song went to #2, stuck behind Cher's Half Breed, and then overtaken by the Rolling Stones' Angie before it could hit #1. But chart position doesn't measure influence. Bob Dylan was such a fan that when Betts sat in with him in 1995, Dylan requested Ramblin' Man. When Betts offered to write down the lyrics, Dylan interrupted, I know the words, I should have wrote that song. That's the real legacy, not the chart peak. The fact that one of the greatest songwriters in history heard it and thought that should have been mine. Number 6, The Rolling Stones, Angie. August 31st, 1973. Goat's Head Soup drops as the Rolling Stones' 11th album, and Angie becomes their next number 1 single. But here's what makes it strange. This is the band that built their reputation on danger, swagger, and street fighting, man. Now they're releasing a tender acoustic ballad with sparse piano and Mick Jagger singing like his heart just broke. The song was recorded between November 72 and July 73 across Jamaica, Los Angeles, and London. Keith Richards wrote it. Some say it was about David Bowie's wife, Angela. Others say it was about Keith's newborn daughter. Richards never confirmed either story. What matters is the delivery. Nicky Hopkins on piano, acoustic guitar, Jagger's vocal completely stripped of posturing. It's one of the most emotionally honest performances the Stones ever put to tape. And the risk. The Rolling Stones were coming off Exile on Main Street, arguably their masterpiece, 4 sides of greasy, chaotic, blues-soaked rock. Then they follow it with this, a soft rock ballad that sounds like Surrender. Critics were split. Some thought the band had gone soft. Others recognized what was actually happening. The Stones were proving they had range no one gave them credit for. Angie went to number 1 in the U.S., got certified platinum, and topped charts across Europe and Australia. Keith Richards told Rolling Stone, "We decided to do something different and it worked. Maybe a lot of people bought it that would never buy a Stones LP." That was the point. The song reached beyond their core audience. But here's the playbook rewrite. Angie proved that a band known for one thing could pivot completely and still dominate. You don't have to stay in your lane if you're good enough to own whatever lane you choose. Bob Dylan later told the New York Times he wished he'd written Angie. When one of the greatest songwriters in history says that about your song, you've done something right. The Stones never sounded this vulnerable again, and that's what makes Angie irreplaceable. It's the moment the biggest rock band in the world admitted they could feel something other than defiance, and somehow that made them even bigger. Number 5, The Who, Love, Reign O'er Me. October 1973. Quadrophenia closes with Love, Reign O'er Me, and it's the kind of song that separates casual rock fans from the people who actually care about craft. Released as a single in the U.S., it peaks at number 76, but anyone dismissing it based on chart position missed the entire point. Pete Townshend wrote this originally for an abandoned project called Lifehouse, then repurposed it as the climax to Quadrophenia. The song represents Townshend's persona within the main character, Jimmy's fractured psyche, the spiritual seeker finding redemption through divine love. Rain as blessing, thunder as God's voice. It's heavy stuff, and Townshend doesn't pull punches. The recording is a masterclass. It opens with rain sounds, drum thunder, and ruminative piano, then a synth melody. Then Roger Daltrey's vocals build to a climax where Keith Moon delivers what might be his most breathtaking drum assault ever. Moon literally trashed a studio full of percussion instruments to get that finale. Townshend and engineer Ron Nevison set up everything they could find, and Moon destroyed it all in one take. Here's what Love, Reign O'er Me taught every arena rock band that followed. You can be massive and intimate at the same time. The song starts quiet, almost fragile. By the end, it's an orchestral explosion. But it never loses the emotional core. Daltrey's vocal performance has been called one of his finest. He's at the peak of his powers, and you can hear it. When Pearl Jam covered this in 2007, Eddie Vedder was terrified. He knew Pete Townshend might hear it. That's the kind of respect this song commands. Paste magazine later ranked it number 1 in their list of greatest Who songs. Rolling Stone put it at number 5. And if you've ever wondered what the pinnacle of 70s rock ambition sounds like, this is it. Spiritual yearning, sonic warfare, and Roger Daltrey screaming for salvation over Keith Moon's drums. That's the playbook. Number 4, Aerosmith, Dream On. Isn't that the way everybody's... January 5th, 1973, Aerosmith's debut album drops, and nobody noticed. Columbia Records is too busy promoting Bruce Springsteen's first album, which came out the same day. Dream On is released as a single and peaks at number 59 nationally. In Boston, it hits number 1 on the less commercial stations, but everywhere else. Silence. But here's what Steven Tyler built. The blueprint for every power ballad that came after. He wrote Dream On when he was a teenager sitting at an upright piano in a lodge in Sunapee. The music came from his father, a Juilliard trained musician. Tyler remembered lying under his dad's piano as a 3-year-old, listening to classical music. That's where he got those chords. When Aerosmith recorded it, Tyler was still finding his voice, literally. He didn't like how he sounded on tape, so he contorted his voice trying to sound a little bit black, inspired by James Brown and Sly Stone. Come back to you. Sing with me. The band was nervous. Most of them had never been in a studio before, but that raw energy, that's what makes the recording work. It's not polished, it's desperate. The song builds from piano intimacy to Tyler's trademark scream at the climax. That structure, quiet to explosive, introspective to cathartic, became the template. When Dream On was re-released in late 1975, after the success of Toys in the Attic, it climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. 3 years after it flopped, it became a top 10 hit. That's how long it took for audiences to catch up. Stephen Thomas Erlewine later wrote that there was nothing quite like it in 1973, and it remains the blueprint for all power ballads since. Eminem sampled it in 2002 for Sing for the Moment, bringing Tyler's voice to a new generation. In 2018, it was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. And if you've ever heard a rock ballad that starts quiet and ends with the singer screaming, you've heard Dream On's Children. Tyler didn't just write a song, he invented a format. Number 3, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Free Bird. I must be traveling on now. August 13th, 1973. Lynyrd Skynyrd's debut album drops, and Freebird closes side 2. 9 minutes, 8 seconds, piano intro from Billy Powell, Alan Collins and Gary Rossington on guitars, and by the time the band transitions from ballad to that 3-guitar coda, something irreversible has happened to rock music. Alan Collins wrote the music. Ronnie Van Zant wrote the lyrics after Collins' girlfriend asked him a question. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Van Zant turned it into a meditation on freedom and the impossibility of commitment when you're built to keep moving. The band worked on it for 2 years before they played it publicly for the first time in 1970 under the name Queen. By the time producer Al Cooper got his hands on it for the album, it had evolved into something unstoppable. The song wasn't released as a single until 1974. And even then, it peaked at number 19, with 4 minutes of that guitar solo chopped out for radio. But chart positions don't measure what Free Bird did to rock. It made 9 minutes acceptable. It made extended guitar solos not just tolerated, but demanded. If you were in an audience when Skynyrd played this live, you knew when that piano intro started, you were in for the whole journey. After Ronnie Van Zant died in the 1977 plane crash, the song took on new meaning. For years, the band played it instrumental with just Ronnie's microphone and a hat on a stand, letting the audience sing. When Van Zant's brother Johnny finally sang it years later, he did it because the song needed to be sung. Ronnie wrote it that way. And the shouting. The audience members at concerts screaming, "Free Bird!" even when it's not remotely appropriate. That became a rock cliche, a running joke. But it happened because the song is that good. Guitar World ranked the solo number 3 on their list of greatest guitar solos ever. It's Skynyrd's signature, and it taught every band after, if you're going to go long, make it worth the time. Number 2, Pink Floyd, Money. March 1st, 1973, Dark Side of the Moon releases in the UK. In the US, Capitol Records chairman Bhaskar Menon launches a massive promotional campaign with radio-friendly edits of Us and Them and Time. Then, unusually for Pink Floyd, they release Money as a single on May 7th. It climbs to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. And just like that, a song in 7/4 time with cash register sound effects becomes one of the biggest hits of the year. Roger Waters wrote it. He recorded cash register sounds, clinking coins, tearing paper, and a counting machine in his garden shed, then spliced them together into a 7-beat loop. The band had to re-record it onto multitrack for the album, but that loop, those sound effects timed right on the beats, became the heartbeat of the song. But here's what makes Money a playbook rewrite. It proved weird time signatures could work on mainstream radio. 7/4 is not a friendly meter. It's not intuitive. Most listeners can't even count it. But the way Pink Floyd built the groove made it feel natural. And then David Gilmour's guitar solo in the bridge shifts to 4/4, giving listeners a moment to breathe before snapping back to 7/4 for the final verse. The lyrics are a biting critique of capitalism and greed, delivered with sarcasm and precision. Money, get away, get a good job with more pay and you're okay. It's not subtle, but it works because the music is so infectious that the message lands without feeling preachy. Dark Side of the Moon stayed on the Billboard 200 for over 900 weeks. It sold over 45 million copies worldwide, and Money was the gateway. It was the track that introduced Pink Floyd to mainstream American audiences who'd never heard of them before. After this, every prog band, every art rock group, every musician trying to do something conceptually ambitious had to reckon with the fact that Floyd did it and got a top 20 hit out of it. In 2008, Guitar World ranked Gilmour's solo on Money number 62 in their readers' poll. Rolling Stone put it at number 69 on their greatest guitar songs list. But the real legacy? Every time you hear a song with unusual time signatures on the radio, you're hearing Money's children. Pink Floyd didn't just write a hit, they proved the mainstream could handle complexity. Number 1, Pink Floyd, Time. Dark Side Side of the Moon drops March 1st, 1973, and while Money gets the single release and the chart action, Time is the song that changes how rock bands think about album construction. No single release, no radio edit, just 6 minutes and 53 seconds of existential dread wrapped in the most sonically innovative production rock had heard up to that point. The opening alarm clocks, not one, a wall of them, recorded individually, then synced together by engineer Alan Parsons, then ticking clocks, then a heartbeat pulse that runs through the entire Dark Side album. By the time the drums kick in, that rotatum-driven feel from Nick Mason, you're already somewhere else, somewhere uncomfortable. Keep your hands off of my stack. David Gilmour and Richard Wright split the lead vocals, which was unusual for Floyd, but it works because the song isn't about performance. It's about the creeping horror of wasted time, ticking away the moments that make up a dull day / you fritter and waste the hours in an offhand way. That's not poetry. That's a diagnosis. Here's what Time did to the playbook. It proved you could make a song about aging and regret and the fear of dying without having done anything meaningful. And audiences would not just tolerate it, they'd come back to it for 50 years. No love story, no rebellion, just the quiet terror of realizing you're running out of time and you spent most of it waiting for life to start. The guitar solo, Gilmour bending notes over Wright's organ, is structured around negative space. He's not showing off, he's letting the silence between notes do the work. And when the vocals come back for the final section, there's this shift. The time is gone. The song is over. Thought I'd something more to say. You can hear the resignation, the acceptance that maybe it's too late. Dark Side stayed on the Billboard 200 for over 900 weeks. Time was never a single, but it became the song that people who actually listened to albums, not just singles, pointed to as proof that Pink Floyd was operating on a different level. When bands after 73 tried to make concept albums about big ideas, they were chasing what Floyd did here. In 2011, Rolling Stone readers voted it one of the greatest Pink Floyd songs ever. But the real measure? Every time you hear a rock song that uses unconventional sounds, alarms, clocks, heartbeats, cash registers, you're hearing Time's legacy. Pink Floyd said you don't need to sound like a rock band to be a rock band. You just need to say something true and build the world that makes people feel it. That's the playbook. That's number one.